Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is David Beeson. I am your host for today's conversation. My guest today is Nick Boyd, the owner of Confido Commercial Realty. We're going to be talking about his business, journey to business ownership, challenges, best practices, and share a peek of what it's really like to build and operate a business. Nick, welcome to the show, and thank you for being here today. I would love for you to give us a little bit of background of who you are and tell us a little bit about your business as well.
Good morning, David, and thank you guys for having me on here today. Pumped to do this, and hopefully we can create some content here to help other business owners and help other folks grow their businesses, and just continue to excel. So, like you said, my name's Nick Boyd, owner of Confido Commercial Realty. My company specializes in tenant representation for office and industrial business owners. So what that means is that my job is to help companies that are looking for office space or industrial space, help them navigate the greater Austin market to find the best space for their needs. So that could be a video game developer who is growing fast, and we need to understand, what kind of office works best for them. Or it could be a manufacturer who's scaling quickly as well, and we need to put them in a space that has growth options within the building. And, in my world, I work with companies that are just starting, needing a couple thousand square feet to companies
Yeah.
that need hundreds of thousands of square feet. Because in my world, you never know what company is going to scale or grow, and you just need to kind of lead with service. So
Yeah.
I got started in the industry in 2010. I had gone to school in the American University of Paris and got a degree in literature
Oh,
and
wow.
philosophy that, you know, of course, translates right into real
Yeah.
estate, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. Philosophy.
Yes. But what it gave me, and what I'm thankful for, I think a good liberal arts education is that it kind of opened my eyes and humbled me and showed me how to learn. So when I came back to the States, I met one of my mentors, a guy named David Bingham, who is a developer in El Paso, and he gave me my first shot in the industry. So I moved to Austin. He helped mentor me, and I joined up with a company called KW Commercial, Keller Williams Commercial Division, and beat the streets. It was really tough. This is 2010, kind of on the tail end of the recession. My dad was a stockbroker. He was a partner with Edward Jones,
Mhm.
and he basically told me get a red tie, white shirt, blue sport coat, and gray slacks, and go door knock. So I did, which in some parts of Austin wasn't like hugely well received. So
Yeah,
that was a
trust
first
me,
lesson. Was
I did
that?
door knocking for a little bit. I know exactly how it is. I completely understand you, man. Some people are like, want to talk to you, and some people are like, get out of here and shut the door right in your face. I did it for about 6 months, so I know how it is.
It's tough, but you also get great stories, and it teaches
Hmm.
you to meet people where they're at. Like
Yep.
there were some places that it was perfectly appropriate for me to wear a suit and tie,
Hmm.
but in other areas, like I walked an industrial park in Georgetown, Texas, not too far from where you're at, and I should have just wore a collar shirt and blue jeans. Like it's like I think for me, like that was some early days of like, yes, I looked even younger than I look now. I've always had a baby face, but I didn't need to go over the top to think I needed to dress the part. So I think the lesson for me in that phase of my life was just like know who my customers were and meet them where they're at.
Yeah.
Um, but it was a great experience. So I did that, started building my business, got amazing relationships with residential realtors who I've had incredible partnerships for the last 15 years. Left
That's awesome.
KW, great company, but I joined a company called CSA Realty that specialized more in office and industrial. Andrew Chriselle continues to be the owner, and I had a wonderful time there. Continued to grow my business, and then in 2020, I had really my own book of business by that time. I had tenants and clients that I was working with, and I branched out on my own. And in January of 2020, I started what then was called Nick Boyd Real Estate Co.
Oh, wow. Right in the middle of 2020, beginning of 2020, right before COVID, huh?
January. And so I signed my lease, I hired staff, I did all the things in January. And then, like many people know, March 13th, at least in Central Texas, everything shut down.
Yeah.
And my employee, my admin, Cindy, called me and said, "What are we going to do?" And I don't even know how it came out of me, but I just said, "Listen, I've got this under control. Don't, assume that everything is going to be bad. I will lead us and we'll be okay. And unless I tell you something wrong, we're going to make this through." And so, obviously all deals stopped. Nothing was happening. And for basically from March, April, May, and June, no transaction took place in my world. There was a
Yeah.
couple, but what I did, and I think this is really a testament to what I learned from my father and my other mentors, is I just leaned hard into customer service, not knowing what the outcome is. And I think that is how I continue to operate to this day. And what has really served me is you just push forward with high levels of service. And obviously we have goals, but not expecting there to be an outcome. You're open to what's going to come. So what I did during that period is I just called every single one of my customers every day. How are you doing? What can I do to serve? How can I help
Yeah.
you? And then, like you may know, at least in Central Texas, I think we were very fortunate. Things kind of started opening up in July, August,
Yeah.
and like me, you may have seen in your business, really business dependent, things started kind of really accelerating. So during, we things really picked up. I mean, what kind of work were you in at the time? Were you doing the same thing you're doing now?
No, so well, kind of. So I do marketing as well. So
Uh-huh.
I'm a digital marketer. So I do a lot of like video content and a lot of like
Cool.
email marketing and things like that for clients and companies and stuff. And kind of the same thing that you did, where it was like, oh, COVID hit. I'm just gonna like check in, make calls, tell people like, hey, we have backlogs of content. I can edit this, that, so y'all can still post things,
Yes.
rather than like I wasn't able to really go film content for a couple months, but it was like, hey, we have enough of a backlog to where it's like we could still kind of pump some things out for y'all so y'all aren't like just kind of dead and dry in the water. So it was like we still had a bit of like a process. It was just it had to change for a little bit. But kind of same thing like you said, it was like around July. I think it was more August for us whenever we were like whenever the companies were okay with us like coming into the buildings again to start recording with like masks on and stuff. But yeah, it was like August time. So it was probably like a good like 4 months where it was like, okay, let's just do this other thing and ride it out. There's nothing else we can do. Yeah, let's just ride it out at the time. Luckily, it was a lot smaller than it is now. So it's like we didn't really have like employees or anything like that. And we were more like independent contractor basis. So it was mostly just me and my business partner trying to figure everything out. And then we have some other people that we would like bring in to help. It sucked more for them because they didn't really have like any work at the time. But, kind of calling them whenever I could and be like, hey, can you edit this project? Like, you're a friend. I want to help you out where I can. We're still getting paid from this guy and stuff. So kind of helping out what we could. I actually have a crazy COVID story though. I'm kind of getting a little off track.
It's
Me and my
okay.
now, me and my now wife, we were just dating at the time. We're in New York City on March 12th. So we flew home the morning of March 13th at like 5 a.m. And by like noon, all the airports shut down.
Oh,
So
so you just like slid into home.
yeah, well, like all the airports were already kind of starting to like I remember the whole day was like crazy, like the lines were super long. And I was one of those people where I was like, "Oh yeah, COVID's gonna be a thing, but like it won't be that." But like I was naive. I was super naive. And I was like, "It'll be okay." And then we got on the plane and uh flew here, and by the time we landed, I looked at my phone and it was like everything is dying. And I was like, "Okay, all right, everything's gone. I guess everything's shut down." And my parents were in Orlando at the time. I'm originally from Houston, so we landed in Houston, and because we were supposed to watch their house for them for a couple days because they have a bunch of animals. So we were going to watch their house for them, and then like we went over to their house, and I was like, I, I don't know. I guess we're just gonna be here for a little bit. We're gonna wait and see kind of what happens before we try to go home. We ended up staying at their place for like a month just because we didn't really know what was going on. I was like, I'd rather be with family during this than like
A
drive
hundred.
back and
Well,
forth.
because there was so much uncertainty.
Yeah,
Nobody
definitely.
really knew what was going to happen. It was like,
Yeah.
let's flatten the curve, da, 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 and then just continued.
Yeah. And
So,
my mom's the complete inverse of how I was. So I was very like, oh, everything's gonna end up working out, everything's gonna be fine, like very glass half full kind of guy. during like right before COVID, it like popped off. My mom was the opposite, where she was ordering toilet paper and food and all this stuff. So it was like everything hit, and I was like, yeah, I should stay here because you like prepped. I didn't prep, so I'm just gonna stay at your house and like eat your food that you bought. So yeah, that was a
I,
interesting experience for sure.
100%. It's funny, that reminds me, I hadn't thought of this in a long time, but a week before March 13th, when like
Hmm.
really, at least for us in Central Texas, everything like closed, like maybe 2 weeks before, my wife and I got a call from a friend of ours in Washington, and he just kind of calmly was like, hey, if I were you, I would just go and get a bunch of stuff. He's like, I would just go get paper towel, get some non-perishable foods, just maybe go get it. And
Yeah,
we're like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, I think it's a good idea. And he worked in some parts of the government up there. So I think he kind of started seeing the writing on the wall. But to your point, like, I was like, what's the big deal? And then we did. Thank goodness for my wife. She like jumped in on it. But yeah,
yeah.
we're actually stocked with stuff. It was like, holy cow, people did get wild.
Yeah, yeah. Luckily, my mom was the one who stocked up on everything, and then me and my now wife just ended up freeloading for about a month with them. But the
Oh, good. It's what
yeah,
family's all about.
it worked out. Because yeah, my mom, I mean, she bought probably like 2 years worth of like supplies just in case. Like that's how my mom's a very like prepper, wants not like doomsday prepper, but is like, hey, this thing's happening, like let's make sure we're prepared. Like I said, we grew up in Houston, so it was very much like hurricane culture, where it's like,
Yeah, no,
oh,
it's
hey,
smart.
hearing
Yeah.
about a hurricane, let's get all the stuff we need to get. So, because we were like South Houston, or no,
Yeah.
sorry, we're like, I guess kind of like in between. We call it South, but like if you look on a map, it's not South Houston. It's like right between South and North. It's like right on the line. But we would still get hit by hurricanes pretty bad. So, we would always, my mom would always prep whenever she would hear like, hey, this thing could get bad. She would just buy a bunch of stuff.
But I think that kind of preparation, I mean, it really makes a difference. Whatever it is personally in business, like all of these things matter because you just don't know
Yep.
what's to come. And I'm grateful, like, at least at the time in my company, I was like stockpiling things professionally too that allowed me to weather the storm. And like,
Hmm.
in the brokerage world, it's a little easier. Like I really felt it for some of my customers that had high inventory because some of them, like, they had costs that they had to carry.
Yeah.
So, that the PPP really served some people. The PPP money that like came out, which was great. Um, but yeah, basically after July, August, like you're kind of saying, things like really started picking up.
Hmm.
And we just leaned into it, and as a new, like, I'd been in the business by that point for almost 10 years, but I made the classic mistakes that business owners make. And if anybody is about to start a business, don't do what I did, which was hire fast, fire slow. And I was hiring for my really rather than 100% serve my customers.
Yeah.
And not like I wasn't customer focused, but it's just that there was so much inbound business. Like it was between end of 2020 and 2022, it was just a hailstorm. I mean, the Tesla landed in town, and that caused a wave because I focus on the industrial and office market, so that ripple effect. So it was a wild, wild period. And basically led to, by 2022, I was on the edge of burnout because I
Mm.
just was pushing, pushing, pushing. And, thank God for my wife and mentors and stuff because I was able to realign the ship. And, I went from basically being a full service commercial real estate shop, which really works for some people. There's some great commercial real estate firms here in Austin that
Yeah.
can do everything. But for me, what I found is that when I shifted from being a full service shop, because I used to do landlord representation, I did investor represent, I did a lot of stuff, basically just, chasing opportunity, to just focusing on a singular side of the business, tenant representation, representing business owners in specific product types. Not only did the customer service level go through the roof, but also just life got better because I was just deadlock focused on one area of the business. And
Yeah.
part of it is because a guy that I hired, who's my mentor to this day, a guy named David Sheldon, who helped develop the Met Center and was very instrumental on the city of Austin and the industrial market, contributed to the domain. He drilled down on me that no matter what your business is, you have to go through your financials. And you've heard this from Kevin O'Leary, from everybody. You have to go through
Yeah.
your financials weekly at a minimum. And once I did that and I saw that basically 20% of one activity was contributing to 80% of my revenue, I cut out the 80% that was contributing to 20% of my revenue.
Yeah.
And it was a painful process because I had to unload a lot of stuff. I had to let people go. And I take full responsibility for that, like, because it was just poor leadership at the time. But taught me a lot, and I'm really thankful for it because now I'm in a place that, as I look ahead in my career, it's 2026. Um, if I continue to grow or when I continue to grow, if I hire, I'm going to be much more thoughtful about that. Bring on people that are, aligned, and then be very thoughtful and make sure that they're really serving my customers. And that's part of the reason I changed my company name from Nick Boyd Real Estate Co. to Confido Commercial Realty, is that I wanted to put myself out of the name and I wanted to focus on, growing a brand that I could bring people in and have something behind, because Confido means confidence. It comes from my family crest, which is Scotch Irish Boyd. And so it's on the family crest. It says Confido. So
That's
that's
awesome. I'm also Scott Irish, so
let's go. That's
yeah.
right. Yeah. If I grow a beard, it doesn't look as
Yeah.
awesome as yours, but it's close.
I have the funny thing is it's red beard, brown hair. I don't know why, but that's what happened.
Listen, we are mutts, and
Yeah,
that's just how we are.
exactly.
Yeah, we just got it in us. Um, but yeah, so that's what led me. I mean, the other thing, like through that process, and you talked about, you're dating at the time and now wife. I mean, I think it was Charlie Munger or Warren Buffett said the biggest decision that you'll ever make is who you marry.
Yep.
And I am very grateful for who I married because my wife has been an incredible rock for me and the kids. And, that's really what kind of continues to be my anchor point, as well as other things, but it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm the same way. The um so real quick before we kind of like go more into like what the business like how the business is now and how it's doing now and everything like that. I'm curious if you could tell us kind of just setting the structure for the audience what role you currently play in the business right now. Like what is a day in the life of Nick currently?
I love it. Yeah. So, I am the broker owner of Confido Commercial Realty. So for me, I do. Like I basically oversee everything, and that is by design right now because essentially with advancements in large language models and AI, I'm able to do quite a bit without a lot of administrative support. So, for example, like a day for me, like today, I'll do interviews, I'll do meetings, and then afterwards, I'll go meet with customers, which could mean preliminary meetings to help, like to find out kind of what their needs really are, what they're
Yeah.
looking for. It could be that they're signed up as a customer and we're out looking for space. So I'm touring with them in spaces. Could be I'm in the middle of a negotiation, and I'm working with the listing agents on the properties to negotiate the best deal for the customer. Or we could be wrapping things up and I'm essentially helping facilitate getting them access to the space.
Hmm.
So I guess to answer your question, I kind of I'm an all hands on deck, I guess, broker. And I think that's what does differentiate me maybe from some of my competitors, some of the
Yeah.
national firms, which are great. And I think there's absolutely a place for those because, my customer isn't going to be Google, like my customer is going to be a supplier of Google or a supplier of Amazon or of Tesla. And
Yeah.
so, but what I can offer is when my customers want to get hold of me, they have my cell phone number. Like they'll just call me and I can move quick, I can be responsive, and I know the market as well as like the top people in town because this is all I do.
Yeah.
So that's what I do and how I believe I differentiate myself because I basically try to offer a corporate level of service at a local level and just be fully hands-on. Um, and so then that also means that I'm running my books, I'm, working with accountant and I'm doing all the back end stuff too. But like I said, with advancements, which with, ChatGPT, Claude, and these things, a lot of
Yeah.
that can be managed very easily. So I
Yeah.
found a lot of success with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I am curious, how many hours would you say currently you're putting like into work, into the business, and then how much do you think that you're putting on like into like the administrative side, like kind of per week right now?
It's a great question. Um,
You can just ballpark it too. It doesn't have to be an exact.
it's funny. I mean, that is maybe something I'm working on is like looking at what that structure is. Because in a lot of ways, it feels like I'm always kind of doing both. Like
Yeah.
I'm out working in the field, and then when I'm not in the field, like showing properties, I'm working on it. So I don't know. It could be 50-50, 70-30, 70 towards like the active, work with customers, and then maybe like
Hmm.
30% in the business. Um, but like right now, since the market is generally a little slower,
Hmm.
just because of a lot of market conditions, um, I'm probably spending maybe a little bit more time in business development, in refining best practices, and then doing customer outreach
Yeah.
because I think at least in my world, the uncertainty of the various tariffs and then just all the other things that happen on a geopolitical level, they affect the decisions that some of my customers who are international make. So I've had
Yeah, it makes
several
sense.
projects from, Sweden, Denmark, Germany, Austria, moving companies here to the States where they're going to come eventually because then they can be closer to their customers. But because those projects are slow, then I probably have a little more time to drill into business development, drill into customer service, drill into best practices. And I mean, I think that's what one of my mentors taught me is like anytime you find yourself not customer facing, work on yourself, invest in yourself
Yeah.
because that better serves the customer, reading books and all that.
Yeah, definitely. This is always kind of a fun question I like to ask as a follow-up to that. If I were to give you an extra 10 hours each week, how would
hmm
you invest those hours? Would it be in the business, personal life, family time?
If I had an extra 10 hours, I would probably split it between eating fantastic food with my family and reading novels. Like I told you at the beginning, I have a degree in literature, philosophy, and in the last couple of years, as I've made more space for it, I've really dug back into classical literature. So I'm reading The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky right now, and it's been life-changing. Highly recommend it. So I think if I had an extra 10 hours, I'd probably do those things because that actually lifts up my spirit, brings me closer to everybody. So something along those lines.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm really big into fiction. I read a lot of fiction and to let you know, I went to school for film and TV production. I am also a film like a screenplay writer.
I love
So
it.
yeah, I'm always diving into whatever different types of narratives I can and things like that. I'm currently reading I Am Legend, the book from 1954.
Of
Um
course.
yeah, the movie isn't as great of an adaptation, but the book is fantastic. The 1954 book. I forget the author's name, but
You
it's
might really
fantastic.
enjoy a Russian author named Yemyatin who wrote a book
Yamyatin.
called
I'll write that
We,
down.
Yemyatin, and he wrote the futuristic dystopian or utopian world um, prior to Orwell. And
Oh
so
wow.
so if you're interested in kind of some of that world, like some of the Russian authors had like an early leg on it.
Yeah.
Part of it just because they're so repressed and like we're
Yeah.
experiencing tremendous pain coming into the 20th century. Um,
Yeah.
but I'll send you a link to it when we finish.
Perfect.
But
Yeah,
that's
I know you said that you're a philosophy major. One of my favorite movies of all time is a movie called Stalker. It's a Russian film
Mm,
by oh man, what's his name? Andrei
Stalker.
Tarkovsky. Yeah, I believe his name, Andrei Tarkov. It's definitely Tarkovsky. I don't know if Andrei is his first name, but Tarkovsky. Um, Super philosophical, very different, and
Oh
it
wow.
a lot of people that have their that are in the more I guess I'm going to use this term lightly, but TikTok brain, where it's like they can't really sit there and watch something for a long time. It doesn't work super well, but the movie is very slow, but very methodical in the way it builds. And I think it came out in like 1962 or like late 50s. It was around there. And it's fantastic. Kind of same thing. It was like Soviet Union era guy made this movie actually had to leave. The whole story's crazy. He had to leave the Soviet Union because the movie that he made has a lot of like it's a sci-fi movie, but he kind of used sci-fi to kind of represent how the government at the time that he was in was oppressing like the people, and he used it as like a metaphor,
Oh
and
yeah.
the government was not happy about it,
Mm.
so he ended up like leaving and going to Europe, like more like Western Europe, just to get away before he ended up getting thrown in a camp or something like that. It's a crazy story, but movie ended up becoming like a cult classic, huge following, all that. He's known as like the
Yeah,
Russian Stanley Kubrick. Um,
I see it 1979.
yeah, 1979. That's when it was. Yeah. Um,
I will check it out. That whole period, I mean, because basically when that movie came out, right before it is when the Gulag Archipelago by Solzhenitsyn came
mhm.
out, as well as Bulgakov's Master and Margarita, which opened the door to the horrors of the Russian times, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's a
yeah,
fantastic movie.
I will 100% check that out. I mean, I think because at least in my world, like the more I study these things, like the novels we're talking about, faith, digging into that and impact on our life and the world around us, it helps me be a better servant leader and serve my customers. At least that's what I
I'm the same
found
way.
in my
Yeah,
life. It's like somehow those things, when you're more grounded and don't have a TikTok brain, like you said,
yeah,
because then you're more open and you're more thoughtful and it humbles you, I think, and makes it more about others than yourself. So, yeah, I think all these things are important somehow. Like, I think, yes, like studying business classes is important and like spreadsheets and data, very important. But I think understanding things of the soul and the heart make a huge difference in how we work with each other.
yeah. I almost minored in philosophy actually whenever I was in college. I was going to, but then like the way my like structure would be, it was like if I went to add that minor on, it was gonna like add like another semester or something. So I ended up just taking extra philosophy classes without minoring in it. But I love the
Yep.
subject, learned a lot. It taught me a lot about just like how to kind of like dive within your own psyche, but also how to use that whenever you're like kind of talking with other people, being able to like understand people on like a greater level. I know a lot of people think about going for like psychology or sociology for that, but for me, whenever it came to philosophy, I was able to really understand not only like people on a deeper level, but also like kind of like nature and why people do what they do and things like that, just all through philosophy.
A
Um,
100%. Well, on that note, I would highly recommend, if you've never read it, read The Brothers Karamazov.
okay. Brothers
I
Karamazov.
think based on everything you just said, I think you would enjoy it at a very high level, especially as a new father, like you mentioned.
Mhm.
It's pretty profound.
Cool. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. Well, kind of pulling things back into the business and stuff like that. Like I told you before, I am a marketer. I do a lot of marketing stuff.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things to always talk about is marketing. I am
Yep.
curious what different marketing strategies y'all kind of have in place currently.
So, broadly, well, I'm in, I do a lot of face-to-face networking,
Yeah.
really prioritize one-on-ones with customers. I go like number one there to try to make sure I'm like really close with them because in terms of longevity and referrals, that's where I get a ton from.
Hmm.
I'm part of a group called Provisors, which is an excellent. That's where I met Joshua Carnes, who is on your show before, Lion Business
Oh
Advisors.
yeah.
He's amazing. He connected us. So Provisors is a national networking group. And then I'm a accredited SOIR, which is the Society of Industrial and Office Realtors. And that is a specific niche of a category of high performing office and industrial brokers.
Hmm.
And then in terms of so that's like the, outgoing work. And then in terms of marketing, what I've tried to do, and it just because it takes time, is now that I'm more clear on my brand, I've been putting things out via LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, trying to promote content of educational things for customers of what's going on in the market, walking spaces, showing what's available, talking about, vacancy rates in office, which is relatively high right now in the high 27% range. And then industrial vacancies are about the same in 22, 23% more or less. So just really my marketing efforts have been that and providing data to better serve the customer so they know, hey, what's going on with triple net expenses? Like, how
Yeah.
did that look? Is it normal? Do I have flexibility? Do I have to sign a personal guarantee? Well, maybe if you don't have any credit, like these are the points that I really try to drill in to serve people because then they can know that they have options as they go through the process of leasing, whether they use me or they don't, or buying.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Um, so whenever it does come to marketing strategies, do y'all have like a set amount that y'all normally try to invest back into the business for marketing, or is it kind of just like a month to month figure out as it goes kind of thing?
For now, thank you for asking. It is kind of a month to month thing because I'm honing down on kind of where I want to invest that and kind of
Hmm.
what I'm looking for. So it is not a defined strategy right now. Like right now, I've
Yeah.
I've really invested a ton more time in face-to-face outgoing work, but on the marketing side, digital side, I'm trying to do more with that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a lot of trial and error a lot of the time because like one month it's like, oh, these meta ads were like booming and we got a lot of business and a lot of engagement from the meta ad. And then you run the same ad the next month and their algorithm changed slightly and you're like, oh crap, we got like two calls the entire time from the ad campaign and we just spent X amount of money. It's like so
Yes.
sometimes it's changing a lot. Um and it's hard right now because like last year and the year before, or I'd say it was like 2024, it was super consistent with like Meta and like TikTok and like different advertisements because the algorithm was pretty much the same for the entire year. And then
Uh-huh.
in 2025, the whole thing happened with TikTok being like having to be bought by the US and like all that. And so now the algorithm changes like every 6 weeks and it's like, what is
Oh,
going on? So
interesting.
you really have to follow like the curves and see why things are changing. Um, because now that TikTok's owned by the US, they're changing their algorithm to keep engagement bigger, which then makes Meta be like, oh, we need to follow that. So that way we make sure that we're keeping people engaged. So then they go and change their algorithm a little bit. Especially now that all the algorithms are like AI algorithms, it's a whole thing. So I totally get that. Sometimes it's a little bit more to have to follow than it used to be.
A hundred
But
percent. Well, that's
yeah,
why it takes professionals like you guys doing it.
yeah, it's a lot. um, so kind of switching over to team. I know that you mentioned that y'all do have a bit of a team and stuff, and that you kind of had to like let go of like some people before and things like that. I am curious, how big currently is the team?
Oh no. Well, I guess when I say team, it's like I essentially have um, independent contractors who will work for me on various things. But
Gotcha,
in
gotcha,
terms of a staff, I don't have a staff anymore because I really don't need it right now. Like it's,
gotcha,
since
gotcha.
I
Okay.
don't do I really don't focus on landlord listings. I don't need junior agents doing that work, like showing property. And I can basically handle my client load. And if I grow, I may consider bringing somebody on. But in terms of administrative support, I can, you know, off, I can get somebody to do independent contractor work for me, whether it be for marketing or accounting or bookkeeping. But I've
Yeah.
found a lot of success with that over the last 2 years and then hire people on for specific projects.
Yeah. And like, kind of like what we talked about before, I feel like right now, anyone that's listening to this that hasn't started a business and wants to start a business, I feel like right now really is the time to dive in and try to do it because of these AI tools. These AI tools allow it to be a lot easier than it was 10 years ago, where it's like you don't know how to do the administrative stuff. You don't know how to do bookkeeping. It's like you could go hire an accountant or you could just, go on Claude, pay for the extra amount of money to make custom GPTs and things like that, and then just go and use that to be able to kind of help you keep your books. And then you can still definitely go check with an accountant towards the end of the year, make sure your things are correct. But
100%. Very much needed. Yes,
yeah.
1,000%. But no, I think, and that's why it's funny, I mentioned Josh Carnes, who made the introduction to us. His
Hmm.
business is going gangbusters right now, partly because I think there's a lot of people that are buying businesses that are
Hmm.
coming out of corporate America that want independence and want to run their own businesses for that
Yep.
exact reason. So I think we're seeing kind of a boom in that respect. I've noticed in my business, I've seen a higher, amount of people calling, looking for space, looking to start businesses. So I think that's what's interesting about the acceleration of the AI world is that yes, there's a lot of layoffs because there's a big change happening, but then
Hmm.
there's new opportunities on the other side that are happening as well.
Yep. Yep.
But I'm
Definitely.
an optimist.
Yeah, I am as well. Some things are a little scary, specifically in my world with marketing, where like I think some things might kind of go here and there, but I'm a bigger proponent of adapt rather than staying stuck in your old ways. So
100%. That's
I
that's the way to live.
adapt and use the tools rather than get mad and hate the tools. Kind of where I'm at, and the tools make my life a lot easier. Um, before I still edit my own stuff, like
Yeah.
physically edit it, but I don't have to sit for 3 hours and sort my footage anymore. Whenever I record something, it's like I could just throw it into Adobe AI, and be like, hey, can you sort this and find clips that are unique for like this type of edit that I'm going for? And then it will
That's
out of the
amazing. I didn't
out
even
of
know you
the
could do that.
yeah, out of the 200 clips that I have, it'll spit out like 30. So instead of going through 200 clips, I'm going through 30 clips. Makes it a lot easier.
That's amazing. That's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could do that. But see, that's the beauty of it. Makes it efficient. You could serve better. I mean, I don't, that's the way I think of it.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I'm very against like generative. Like I said, I'm a film, TV kind of guy. I love all that
Yes.
stuff, and I love literature and reading and all that. And I feel like you kind of need a human component to really make something good and passionate, whether that be a movie or a book
Yeah.
or a short story, whatever it is. I feel like there needs to be a human component to it to make it really good. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't maybe use AI to assist you in like editing things like, hey, I wrote this entire screenplay. Can you like go fix grammatical errors or something like that? Like that's where I like using it as a tool with those, but I don't like generative. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Like I don't I think it's going to be a while before it passes the Turing test, to put it in that
Hmm.
way. It's going to be some time. But until then, it's pretty fascinating to see what it can do.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I think we'll go to a couple rapid fire questions if you're ready.
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
What is the key to success for you?
Exceptional customer service and seeing my clients succeed and grow or just get to where they need to be. That I think helping other people get what they need or what they think they want. I mean, that's for me that has led me to spectacular success.
It's awesome. What's a piece of advice that you have for other business owners?
In my world, start early, like a lot of things. Plan if possible. Have contingencies, and have at least three different options on the table for when you're looking for your space, because anything could happen. I mean, the space you really want can just disappear for reasons that you never thought of. And I try to do that with my customers. Sometimes you can't just because we get laser focused. But I would say start early, which specifically means if your lease is up in 18 months, at least 18, 12 months, start developing a plan. That's the most successful projects I've ever done have started that early. And that's
Yeah.
not always the case depending on the size, and then have backups.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I love that answer. I know that we've already talked a lot about books and things like that, but what is a good book that you're currently reading right now?
Well, I mean, I'll say Brothers Karamazov, I'm deep in and has been life-changing and speaks to natures of the head and heart and spirit. But also a book I read recently in a book club I'm in. It's called Unreasonable Hospitality. Highly recommend it. It was written about a restaurant in New York that became the best restaurant in the world. It's where the story about the folks, the waiters overheard somebody wanted a hot dog and they ran out in the street, brought it in, and prepared it for this couple that basically like were in town for one day about to fly back to Europe. They'd eaten at every fancy restaurant, but they just wanted a New York hot dog. So it's about providing exceptional customer service at a ridiculous level and just being obsessive about that. And that book has been spectacular.
It's awesome. I just wrote it down. I'm gonna definitely check that one out. That sounds
Highly
awesome.
recommended. Yep.
Yeah. This is another fun question that I always like to ask. If you had a little bit of magic dust and you could choose one spot to sprinkle it in your business and everything there would be perfect, where would you do it and why?
That is a great question, David. Um, I'm trying to think of it because like something around um, communication and service to customers. So like a way to articulate to the customer kind of like what's happening in the market, where they're at in the deal, kind of helping them make decisions in an educated way. So if I had some magic dust, I guess it would just be in communication. I pride myself in trying to be like just a exceptional communicator, but it would be to continue to accelerate that. Because if that's happening, then all areas of the other is the business work. You've got more sales, you've got, reputation, da, da, da. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I love that answer. All right, well, before we get to the final question of the day, would you like to share with our audience how they can learn more about you guys, contact y'all, website, anything like that?
absolutely. You can find me on Instagram. It's just my name. I can, post the handle. My website, confidocommercialrealty.com, or you can call me at 512-838-1087. I'm always available to talk through what's going on. And if we can jump in, hopefully, we're a little bit out of when a decision needs to be made, but sometimes things happen and you just need to jump in. And if that's the case, I'm ready.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, we've come to the final question of the day, and that is what is most inspiring to you today?
I think I've been thinking about that recently, and I think one of the most inspiring things, or something that inspires me, is the life that my wife and I have been given, and that what we're trying to grow for our kids. I look at my children, and I'm like, whatever I can do to grow my business, to serve them, so they have opportunities that far exceed what I have. That inspires me so much. I mean, my youngest son is 8 years old and wants to go to A&M University go to be an engineer and do something extraordinary. He's 8. So that inspires me.
Crazy. Yeah.
My oldest son, he's 11. He wants to go to Charlotte and be involved in NASCAR. He's 11. So just seeing my children's passions, wanting them to grow to be kind, faithful individuals, I think that really drives me because I want them to work to make a better world. And, rising water raises all ships. So that's the way I try to look at it.
Yeah, I love that answer. I think there's nothing more important than like the next generation always. It's the most
Always.
it's the legacy, it's the thing that carries us on our jobs, our careers, everything. We're all going to die one day. So it's one of those things where it's like the next generation, your own kids, they're the future. They're the things that are going to carry on everyone's legacy and that whatever it is that they choose to do. And I think yeah, I love that answer. That's very much what inspires me as well.
Isn't it amazing? And like, you're a new
Yeah.
father, but even when before the baby's born, you're like, something's different.
Hmm.
Like, this is different. And, it's incredible opportunity to have kids because, like, some people can, and it's hard. When you get older, you realize how difficult it is to have children and how much
Yeah.
of a blessing it is. So, yeah, I 100% align with you with that. I mean, the only thing for certain is death, taxes, and that George Strait is the king, right? Is
Yeah,
that the only
exactly.
film?
I love that. Um, yeah, well, Nick, this was a great conversation. I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing. Also, I just encourage all of you watching to save the show and come back and watch it again because Nick really did have some great insights for business. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channels every time so that way you get notifications and you guys can see new conversations that drop just like this one. Thank you to everyone who joined us today, and a special thanks to you, Nick, for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, David. Really appreciate the time.
I will see you all in the next episode.